Welcome to video number 2 this week, week number 5 in our digital learning. And this week is all about genetics. And so this should be the second video that you're watching this week. If this is not the second video, if this is the first video you're watching, you should probably stop this video, go back and watch the first one. The first one goes over the basic genetics, the words that go along with genetics, how to kind of figure out capital letters, lowercase letters, dominant, recessive, homozygous, heterozygous, genotype, phenotype, Punnett squares, all that basic stuff. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to show you what I'm expecting when you do your genetics problems on the assignments this week. Okay, so let's jump over to the online notebook real quick just so I can show you what we're talking about here. All right, so week 5, there's your list of stuff to do. So in assignment 1, the first video, if you have not watched it, is this one right here, video on genetic information. This video should be the second video that you are watching this week. Then there's a whole bunch of information here. These are notes that I created for you on just basic genetics, dominant, recessive, some different examples of dominant, recessive, capital letters, lowercase letters, homozygous, heterozygous, homozygous recessive, homozygous dominant, genotype, phenotype, generations, P1, and so on and so forth. I went over all of this information in that first video. So if you're looking at this going, I don't know what the heck that is, you should go watch that first video. All right. Then what I'm going to go over is this right here, steps to solving a genetics problem. We're going to do a couple examples from your assignments this week. Then after that, you should have gone to a concept map. I wouldn't do these genetic problems until you've done a concept map first. So again, if you are watching this and you haven't done your concept map yet, do the concept map first. That way you can get familiar with these terms because I'm going to be using those terms here. And then you should have done some basic genetics problems, which is a kind of like a worksheet. I go over some of those in the video right here. Again, I would do that work and watch that video before you're watching this video on how to do the problems. What we're going to be going over is this one, assignment number 4, okay? These 5 complete dominance problems right here. I'm going to go over 2 of them. I'm going to show you how to go through these steps right here of solving them. If this comes out too grainy and you can't read this, you click on this link and it'll give you this same sheet digitally. All right. And this video is right here. So if you clicked it here, you clicked it up top, it's the same video in both spots. Okay. So these are the steps we're going to go over. And then there's an example. And this should be how you finish off the week right before you do your Jupyter quiz, which will be going over this kind of stuff and the stuff from your concept map and stuff from the basic problems. Okay. So that's what we are doing in this video, is kind of showing you how to solve these 5 types of problems right here. Okay, so let's jump back to our camera so I can kind of write this stuff down as I talk about it. All right. Hey, the lights are back on, so you can actually see what I'm writing this time. Sorry about the first video being a little dark. My light was out. That's how it goes sometimes. All right, how to complete genetics problems. So there's basically 5 steps that we're going to go through on each type of these genetics problems. I did the 5 steps for you at the end of the first video. So if you were getting it at the end of the first video, you're going to get this real easy and real simple. If you're still not getting it, again, struggle through, try your best, ask for help. We'll get there. All right, the steps. First thing you should do, you should always identify your letters and your alleles. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Step 2, picture. I know a lot of people like to try and do this stuff in their head, and sometimes you can't, but I'm telling you, not every problem is straightforward. So it's good to have a picture of mom, dad, and children with definitely genotypes and sometimes phenotypes, Depends on what the problem is asking. Maybe you need to know the phenotypes of mom and dad. Maybe you just need to know their letters. It depends on the problem. Okay. Pictures help. They really do help. All right. Step 3, after you draw a picture, if you are trying to figure out the children, then you will set up and run a Punnett Square. I'm going to put in parentheses, if needed. Not every problem requires you to have a Punnett Square. Don't think you always have to have a Punnett Square. It depends on what it's asking. Okay. Step 4, and I'm going to give you a problem. We're going to go over 2 problems. One of them doesn't require a Punnett Square. One of them does. Step 4, after you've run your Punnett Square, you should write your ratios for genotypes and phenotypes. Again, I know people try to do this stuff in their head. I'm telling you, it's where people make mistakes. It's just like in math class when you try to skip steps and then you get lost. Same concept here. But again, if you're not running a Punnett Square, you have no ratios to write down. So it's only if needed. You're only doing ratios if you do a Punnett Square. If you're not doing a Punnett Square, then you don't need steps 3 and 4. All right, step 5. Answer the question. I can't tell you how many people will go through a genetics problem and they'll put the letters, they'll draw the picture, they'll run the Punnett Square, they'll put the ratios down, and then they're just like, there it is. And you didn't actually answer the question. Like, it didn't say, like, what are the chances the kid has dimples? What is the chances the kid has bushy eyebrows? Then you got to say, oh, the chances of bushy eyebrows are this, or the chances of having dimples are this. So make sure you go back and know what the question was originally asking you and then answer that specifically. And then what you do with that is usually you box it so that it's easy for me to say, yep, you got that answer right. Okay. So those are the 5 steps that we do when we're doing genetics problems. Okay, so let's jump into our first genetics problem. So let me go back to our problems this week. All right, might be a little hard for you to see, so I'm gonna try and blow that up a little bit. Oh, not too far. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go with number 1. Let's go right, nice and easy starting on. It says, in Homo sapiens, that be you, brown eyes are dominant over blue eyes. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. It's telling me information. I can start up with my letters right now. Brown eyes, blue eyes. So then you gotta say, all right, I'm gonna pick a letter for this. You can do E for eyes. I like B. B is easy to see. So I'm gonna do brown eyes for B because they're dominant, and blue eyes for little b because they're recessive. So let me go back. All right, so I'm on problem number 1. Okay, right off the bat, I'm going to go, all right, I'm going to use the letter B. You could pick any letter you want. You can go H, you can go I. It really doesn't matter. And it says brown eyes is dominant. So I'm going to pick the capital. I'm going to say that's brown eyes. And the lowercase, they said was blue eyes. Okay, boom. I got my letters in there. All right, let me go back to that problem now. Okay, what else we got? A blue-eyed man and a brown-eyed woman have one child who has blue eyes. Okay, a blue-eyed man and a brown-eyed woman have a blue-eyed child. Blue-eyed man and a a blue-eyed man and a brown-eyed woman. Okay, so now this helps me. I go right to my picture from here. We got mom, funky afro, dad. Okay, said a blue-eyed man. Well, the only way you can have blue eyes, in fact, you know what? I'm not even into that yet. Let's just say that his eyes are blue, her eyes are brown, they have a child. In this case, it's not a question mark. They actually tell you the child's information. The child had blue eyes. Okay, so let me go back to the problem here. Determine the possible genotypes of the parents. Okay, so genotypes means letters. I want to know what are the genotypes, what are the letters of the parents. Okay, so now let's go back. Oops, let's go back. Okay, so got to do a little thinking here. All right, blue. To have blue, you got to have lowercase. And if you have one capital and one lowercase, it's still going to turn out brown. So the only way to have blue is to have 2 lowercase or be homozygous recessive. So dad must be lowercase, lowercase. Child has blue eyes too, so he must be just like dad. He must have lowercase, lowercase. Mom has brown. So I look over here, brown is the capital letter. So she must have at least one capital letter. The question is, what is that other letter? Okay, so I'm sitting there right now going, what is it? What is it? What is it? Well, this is where the child comes in. You say, okay, well, if the child got this little b from dad, so dad must have given him a little b. Where did the other little b come from? That must have come from mom. So if that came from mom, then that tells you that her second letter is not a question mark anymore. It must be a lowercase b. Okay? So in this case, I did the letters, identified my letters. I drew a picture of mom, child, and dad with the genotypes and the phenotypes this time because I felt it was going to help. Did I run a Punnett Square? Didn't need to. Why? Because I already knew what the children were. So I don't need to figure out what are the possibilities of their children. They told me what the child was. No Punnett Square needed. Therefore, no ratios needed. So the only thing I have to do now is answer the question. What was the question again? So let me go back. Just to make sure I'm answering. What are the genotypes of the parents? Okay, so genotypes, the letters, these right here. Now, you could just do that and go, he'll figure it out. But again, it makes sense to actually answer the question. So you say, mom is capital B, lowercase b. Dad is lowercase b, box it. There's my answer. Again, no Punnett Square needed at all. All right, that's hopefully you're understanding how I figured that out and the logic we used. All right, let's skip over to number 3, which means number 2 is going to be on you to do on your own. All right, so I'm skipping number 2 on cystic fibrosis. I'm going to see if you can figure that one out yourself. All right, number 3, sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is a recessive disorder which commonly affects the red blood cells of individuals from Central and North Africa. The faulty protein of the red blood cell causes these cells to deform into sickle shape and block blood flow. Okay, so they just gave me a ton of information right there. But what do I really want? I need this. Sickle cell anemia is recessive. So boom, right there, I want to capture that. I want to go write that down. So I go stop, sickle cell. Okay, so I'm going to pick some letters. Let's see, S is not a good letter, sickle cell. C is not a good letter either. Let's do A, all right, anemia. Capital A, lowercase a, all right? It said sickle cell is recessive. So which one is that going to be? That's going to be the lowercase one. So this is sickle cell anemia. But it didn't say anything about what the dominant was. Why? Because dominant is basically you don't have it. What we use for that when you don't have a disease is we say that's the typical. We used to say normal, but there really is no normal anymore, so we say typical. Okay, so typical is dominant, sickle cell anemia is recessive. Okay, that's what I pulled out of that. Let's go back to the question. Notice how I'm going back to the question. You got to do that. Okay, you're not going to just read it and know the answer is dot. You're going to have to work your way through it. All right, a homozygous dominant typical individual reproduces with a carrier. Woo, that's a mouthful. All right, so one person is homozygous dominant typical. Homozygous dominant typical. Okay, and the other person is a carrier. What are the possible genotypes of their children? Okay, so we don't know the children in this one. All right, so let's go back. Homozygous dominant typical and a carrier. So let's go back. I got mom. I like to do it on the side here. Mom with the fro. Dad. All right. Now, it didn't say mom. It didn't say dad. So I can put it on either one. So it said homozygous dominant typical. So homozygous dominant. So I'll just put it on mom. Mom's capital A, and the other one's a carrier. So let's put that on dad. Carrier means what? Heterozygous. So a capital and a lowercase. So dad is capital and lowercase. They have a child. We don't know. That's what we want to know. Okay. So when I get to this point, I go, How do I figure out what the possible kids are? Punnett Square. That is correct. Okay, so I'm going to run my Punnett Square. Put mom on the side, put dad's genotype on top, and then I run it. Capital A with a capital A, capital A with a capital A, capital A with a lowercase a, capital A with a lowercase a. Okay. Then I'm supposed to do my ratios. I like to just abbreviate genotype. Some people just do G. That's fine. All right. I got 2 that are capital, 2 capital, colon, and 2 that are capital lowercase. Okay. Phenotype. Some people just put P. All right. What does it capital mean? Capital, well, you're both typical. So they're going to be 2 typical, meaning they do not have the disease. And these are capital lowercase. Well, capital is typical, lowercase is sickle cell, but the capital overrides the lowercase. So they'll be typical too. So I'll put colon 2 typical. So look what happens. Even though the genotypes are different, these come out to 4 typical, which is 100%. All right. Now you may stop right there and go, see, I did it. Aha. Step 5, go back and answer the question. So let's go back and say, what was the question? What are the possible genotypes of the children? Okay, genotypes, letters. What are the letters of the children? These are the genotypes right here. So you don't need to rewrite that. If you can make it nice and clear, I would put a box around that. Two possible genotypes. Some people like to really spell it out. That's fine too. Genotypes of the children can be A little a. I didn't make my square very nice right there. Boom. Did I do all 5 steps? Letters, yes. Picture, yes. Punnett square, yes. Ratios, yes. Answer the question, yes. So that's all 5 steps. So that's the answer to number 3. So you'll rewrite that. Hopefully you understand how we did it. This is the answer to number 1. Okay, rewrite that. Hopefully you understand how we did it. So that means now going back to your sheet or your list of problems, you need to do number 2, you need to do number 4, and you need to do number 5 on your own. You'll put all these on a separate piece of paper and take a picture and turn them into Jupyter. Okay? And I'll be looking these over and grading them, make sure that you're on the right track with these. Again, if you're stuck, if you're not sure what the problem's asking, office hours on Wednesday and Thursday, 2 o'clock, or shoot me a Jupyter message or a text message to my phone number. All right? Once if you're getting all 5 of these right, after you got the basic problems hopefully right, then you are ready for that quiz. If you are like, I don't know where to start, I don't know what these words mean, then you don't want to jump into that Jupyter quiz just yet. Okay? Genetics is a skill. It is something that you have to practice. Again, I'll just say this. Some of you are going to get this stuff right off the bat, and it's going to be a piece of cake, and you're just going to be like, yeah, it's easy. And then some of you are going to struggle for a little bit, and you're going to be having to work at it, but eventually you'll get it, and it won't be a problem at all. So don't be frustrated if you're not getting it right away. Just keep at it, ask good questions, talk to each other. If you won't need to talk to me, that's great, but just get help. There's other YouTube videos out there as well. But this is how you do basic genetics problems, or what we call complete dominance problems, where one dominates over the other. Next week, if you're not getting good with this stuff right now, next week I'm going to throw wrinkles at you, and it's going to be something called codominance, where there's actually 2 dominant letters or 2 capital letters. And then I'm going to throw another one at you called sex-linked, where it's actually linked to whether it's the X chromosome or the Y chromosome for a boy or a girl. Again, you can't get into the advanced stuff until you have the basics down. These are the basics. All right, good luck. Reach out for help if you need help. I think you're going to do just fine.